Hey, what's up? It's Tech Summer talking to you here. Did you know WWDC? It's happening in about 2 to 3 weeks. And did you know that WWDC used to be a developer focused event, but now Apple decides to announce in some years some hardware. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. WWDC, it's happening in less than 2 weeks, and we got leaks saying it's going to have hardware, exciting hardware. So in today's video, I will explain everything about it because WWDC is one of the most exciting events in the year for Apple. And in this year, we are expected to get new and exciting Apple Silicon refreshes. And of course, new exciting Pro Display XDR refreshes. So if that's something that you are into, then keep up watching this video because I will explain all that is being talked about in the leak community. So no further ado, roll the intro. As I told you before, WWDC is a developer-focused event. But in some years, Apple releases hardware, and the hardware that is being released in WWDC is always very important. So the first piece of hardware that I'm expecting to come out in WWDC is the Mac Pro. Yes, I do think Apple wants to announce the Mac Pro transition in WWDC of 2022 because their timeline ends about right now. So yes, I do think that Apple wants to at least unveil the Mac Pro, tell everyone which architecture will it use, how it will work, and what are the new features of it, but they will announce the price and the date that it comes out later in the year. So it's more of a pre-announcement than a completely full-on announcement. So the first computer to be announced is the Mac Pro. And this Mac Pro, in my opinion, will have tons of new improved hardware features to the Apple Silicon lineup that we haven't seen before. Just like modularity. Yes, I do think Apple wants to create a modular Apple Silicon computer, and with the Mac Pro, they will express new technologies that we haven't been seen before using with ARM chips from Apple. Of course, as you know, the ARM chips from Apple, the A10, the A11, the A12, the A13, the A14, the A15, or even the M1, the M1 Pro, the M1 Max, even the M1 Ultra, they all use an all-in-one package. So everything is in the same chip, the GPU, the RAM, and the CPU. So the efficiency here is very, very high. You don't lose a lot of time connecting these three things, the RAM, the CPU, and GPU. And of course, the GPU and the CPU can access the same pool of RAM. So you can have 32, 64 even gigabytes of RAM and 64 gigabytes of GPU RAM. So it's very interesting to see that this is a more efficient chip design than the old x86 architecture. So how will Apple create a modular but in all-in-one design? It doesn't make any sense. They are two antagonists, so how will Apple do it? Well, in my opinion, they have two options. The first option is they just create two M1 Ultras, three M1 Ultras, four M1 Ultras. But that's not likely, just because the fact that, as we have been seeing now, the M1 Ultra is a scaled-up version of the M1 Max. So it's two M1 Maxes fused together by the Ultra Fusion layer, a layer that provides the two chips to be united to each other, but not to lose any performance. But unfortunately, as we have been seeing on Final Cut Pro benchmarks and other results, the M1 Ultra is not as fast as we were expecting. And that's because we are hitting the threshold limit of like gains in towards of the big size of the chip. So we are reaching diminishing returns in terms of power to this chip. So this version for Apple will just create even this problem and scale it even further, because more Apple Silicon chips with the same cores but just more cores would create this computer which would be very inefficient and not that much more powerful. So the second option, I think so, will be way more viable for Apple, and that's the creation of a system where you can unite eGPUs or external GPUs to the ARM chip. So you can have your ARM chip, you buy one, you choose one, and then later on Apple will enable you to buy cards which are external GPUs, let's say that, to the chip. You can put it on Mac Pro just to improve the speed of your GPU and give you more GPU power. So imagine a regular GPU like you have now on the x86 Intel machines, but you can plug it into your Mac Pro. Of course, Apple won't use NVIDIA GPUs and AMD GPUs. They will use in-house built eGPUs, and they have tested it out, if you can see now, with their Apple ProRes accelerating card on the current Intel Mac Pro. So yes, that's the solution that I have for the eGPU. Then, of course, for the RAM, I think it will be pretty easy. Apple will add the RAM of the chip. You can upgrade in the beginning, and then you will have RAM slots that you can put. It won't be as fast, but it will enable you to get to at least 1 terabyte or 1.5 terabyte on Apple Silicon. RAM. So that's pretty interesting. Of course, this RAM won't count to your GPU pool RAM, but it will be enabled by some software trick to work with your CPU RAM. So yes, I'm very, very excited. The only thing that I expect Apple not to be able to upgrade is the CPU. But if Apple decides and wants you to, I don't know, buy M1 Ultras on the website to substitute your M1 Max, or even replace your chip with another even more powerful later on, then Apple might want to do it, but I'm not sure they will. So the Mac Pro is very exciting, and that's where I would like to see Apple to innovate in their amazing technologies when producing chips. I'm very excited to see the pinnacle of Apple Silicon, and in my opinion, it will be announced in WWDC in less than 3 weeks. So I'm very, very excited for it. But coupled with the Mac Pro, there's always the Pro Display XDR. Yes, the Pro Display XDR will be refreshed according to a lot of leakers. We are expecting at least a 27-inch panel, which would have 120 Hz and, of course, a mini LED display. This will be very, very exciting. I'm not sure if this will replace the Pro Display XDR though, because the current Pro Display XDR is 32 inches. But I think it will be a middleman between the Pro Display XDR and the Studio Display. So I think it's very, very, very exciting to see another display from Apple that has 27 inches, mini LED, and ProMotion. I think it's very, very exciting, and if it comes together with this Mac Pro, between the Pro Display XDR and the Studio Display in terms of price, it will be a very enticing option for people that want to buy this current Apple Silicon Mac Pro. And I'm very, very excited if Apple can keep the same design as the Studio Display, just adding a bigger size and a mini LED ProMotion panel. So I'm very excited to see if Apple can release these two pieces of hardware that I'm the most excited for. Because, as you know, the Mac Pro and the Pro Display XDR are the pinnacle of Apple hardware, and they are very expensive too. So, as a fanboy, I like to see what Apple does with these types of products. Then, the most important part of this event, the M2 unveiling. Yes, the M2 unveiling will be, in my opinion, the biggest thing ever to happen to Apple Silicon, far from the M1. Just because the M2 will improve not only the base models, but everything that comes after. Because the M2 will be the revolution on the core inside. Not just the number of cores, but the type of cores. So I don't think Apple wants to improve the M2 chip so much that the budget consumer will be able to buy $1,100 or $1,200 computer that is so much more powerful than the M1. It will be ridiculous. And of course, it will probably battle with the M1 Pro. So I'm very, very excited for this M2 chip. If Apple can release a redesigned Mac Mini, a redesigned MacBook Air, or even the M2 chip on a MacBook Pro with the same design and make like 30 hours of battery life, that would be just insane. What are the current leakers saying? Well, according to the current leakers, we are expecting only to get the M2 Mac Mini and the M2 MacBook Pro, not the M2 MacBook Air, just because the M2 MacBook Air, it's a bigger redesign than the MacBook Pro and the Mac Mini, and so it makes a little bit of sense that Apple wants to save it for a little bit later, give it more time to perfection. So yes, the M2 Mac Mini, a small redesign, and the M2 MacBook Pro, the same design without the touch bar with this amazing chip. On the M2 Mac Mini, it's rumored that it will be way smaller, so the battery life doesn't matter, and the M2 chip will be more efficient, so you can make a smaller chassis. While the M2 MacBook Pro, it's rumored to have the same chassis, the same batteries, the same display, the same keyboard, everything. Not only the touch bar, so with touch bar, if you like the touch bar, you have to get to M1 MacBook Pro. It will probably be the last MacBook Pro with a touch bar, but if you do like this design and you don't matter like a little bit more expensive price of the MacBook Pro than the MacBook Air, then yes, it is a good deal. And if Apple is giving the same size of batteries used on the M1 MacBook Pro, which already has like a 20 hour of battery life, then with a more efficient M2 chip, we should expect incredible 24-hour battery life, in my opinion. So let's see if that happens, and I'm very, very excited for the hardware part of this event, and of course the M2 chip unveiling, although there's some leakers now saying that it could be delayed. I'm not sure. Let's just see. 3 weeks until the event, and I'm very, very excited. Of course, as you know, WWDC is a software event, so we should expect software on this event also. First of all, the iOS 16, then macOS, then watchOS 8 or 9, I don't know which one it is, then iPadOS 16, which is the most exciting one, and of course, HomeOS, but that doesn't matter. So, first of all, the iOS 16, there have not been a lot of leakers talking about iOS 16. Software leaks are very, very dull. They are not very often that they happen, and so I don't have a lot of things to ask for Apple. I just don't. Maybe you're always on display for all the iPhones. That's it. I don't really care about the software part. The only software I do really care is the iPadOS. Please, Apple, give us more power on the iPad Pro. We do need it a lot. Give it a new Finder app. Give it a new calculator and weather app. Give it a lot of things that are new that we haven't got right now. But of course, software is the cherry on the top of this cake on WWDC 2022. The thing that I'm most excited for is the hardware, and I'm expecting to get it. If I don't get it, I will cry on the reaction video. So I'm very, very excited. If you are excited too, do not forget to drop a like down below and subscribe to my channel. I will cover WWDC to its finest. And of course, if you are excited for these types of videos, if you like these types of videos of news or even reviews, don't forget to check my channel down below and subscribe and leave a like to this video because it will help me a lot growing this channel. So this is Tex More talking to you here. Bye.